Hello everyone, today I'm gonna talk about something that has been bothering me for a while. It's something that a lot of Berserk YouTubers address in their videos, at some point at least, and that's whether or not Berserk is getting worse. Now, the most recent instance of this happening is the recent video from The Masked Man. I'll be responding to it and addressing my issues with how it's approached. Link to the video in the description, of course. Now, I want to say before I start that personally do not have much of an issue with the current Berserk. However, I do think it's not perfect, so I will be highlighting the criticism that seems to be dodged in those types of videos. The main two complaints the Masked Man addresses in his videos are the tone and the artwork. To be honest, I don't see the art as a complaint, but whatever. It's true the tone of Berserk has changed. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still pretty damn dark, but not as much as before. However, this is not the reason why there is a decrease in quality. Because if it is your complaint, then you probably don't understand Berserk. It's the story about Guts, and the tone follows his development, and this happens for most stories. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. And this is something that the Masked Man addresses in the video, so I'm not gonna be spending too much time on this. So, what's the problem, you may ask? If I had to point out the one problem that affects the story the most, I'd say it's the character. Now, whoa, please do not kill me. I am not saying every characters are bad, not at all. Most of them are pretty damn good, in fact. The current version of Guts is my favorite one, and characters like Farnese or Casca are also pretty much unaffected by what I'm about to say. However, if you look at characters like Puck, Serpico, Isidro, it's undeniable that their quality has decreased. Especially Puck and Isidro, who are now glorified bad jokes. And if we look at the newer characters like Roderick or Magnifico, also true to say that they're not the most interesting ones, especially Magnifico. He is one of the only characters I hate, because he is as useless as Sakura, and makes stupid faces for no reason. He's annoying. He's annoying. That's what he is. Now, what causes this is what the Masked Man points out in his video: the world building. If you look at the Conviction arc or the Golden Age arc, you'll see that these arcs are very personal arc, very centered on Guts, for the right reasons. It's a very personal story. However, if you have to name the important character in the story, at that point at least, there are only really three: Guts, Casca, and Griffith. And the important more secondary characters would be Judo, Rickert, kind of, Puck, Farnese, and Isidro. And don't mention someone like Pippin, please. He is a glorified background character. That is not a lot for a 21 volume series, and there's nothing wrong with that. These were just very focused arc. For the Millennium Empire arc, this is not the same thing. The world expands a lot, and the number of characters skyrockets, especially at Vertanis. And this is a very difficult thing to handle, and the story becomes less just about Guts and more about every characters in the world. And so it loses a lot of focus, and it places it on a lot of other things. That means the balancing act between every character is very hard to pull off, and this is something that affects the current Berserk, and it's not something that Miura controls perfectly, as seen through the weird pacing of something like the boat section and the multiple characters' lack of relevance. It's also why the better section of recent Berserk, like Casca's Dreamscape or Rickert's tour in Paradise City, are the best ones. They are incredibly focused part of the story, and they accomplish their goals in a very good manner. Now, this is not a problem that can only be found in Berserk. In fact, it pretty much affects every long-running series. It's part of the reason why something like the Naruto War arc is bad. And Miura definitely isn't handling that in a catastrophic manner. If I had to point out, however, definitely not a perfect way. If I had to point out a solution to this, I'd take the Hunter x Hunter approach, where as soon as a character does his thing in the story, he leaves it and does whatever he wants in the world. It makes the world more realistic because not everyone follows the main character, and the story is much more focused than if every character were there. And this would have been the perfect solution for Magnifico. Just leave him in Vitanis, please. Although, for some other character, it's not as easy to do, so it might not be the perfect approach. All in all, I know I've talked pretty badly of Berserk, but I really don't hate it. In fact, I love it. But I think it's fair to point out its flaws, especially some which aren't talked about a lot. However, I will say that this problem could definitely be solved in the future. Not all is lost, and I haven't talked about all the positives of current Berserk, because it's not what this video is about. But there are definitely a lot of good things about current Berserk. So, my issue with the Masked Man's video is just that it seemed to debunk things that don't really need debunking. Well, I feel like there are other issues which he talks about a bit in some other videos that just need more addressing when talking about whether or not Berserk has gotten worse. And I've just pointed out a few of them in this video. Alright, that's the video. Please subscribe and go see the Masked Man. He seems like a cool dude, and he makes better content than me. See ya.